Welcome to the show. This is your girl, Felina B. Flossin.
And I'm Monique Scott, and we are excited to have you join us as we support and encourage women in 5 areas: the mind, body, soul, while laughing more and loving more. And today, we have a very special guest joining us for our 5-star spotlight.
Yes, I'm so excited about our next guest. Joining us is Aisha Goins. Amongst her many accomplishments, she is the founder of blackabyss.com, a blog dedicated to combating the stigma of being Black in the cannabis industry. Welcome to the show, Aisha.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, ladies. I appreciate it.
So I just gave a little brief synopsis to the listeners of Aisha Goins, but beyond the title, who are you?
I am the best way to describe me is a community partner. That's the title that I adorn the most. It's the one I'm most proud of. But that is pretty much what I would call myself.
Okay. So in a few moments, we're going to talk a little bit more about that and your journey and all that. But we got to handle some 5-star business if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Do you?
When you hear the words 5-star living, Aisha, what does that mean to you in your world?
It just, to me, what it means is to love, forgive, to be community minded, to have peace, and to have joy. So those 5 things, when I was reading about 5-star living, I said, what 5 things would apply to me? And those are my 5.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that with us. And how do you know in your life when your 5 is like out of sync and you're out of balance?
That's really simple, actually, because when I'm out of sync, I get depressed. I'll immediately get sad. And then it's easy to just kind of go back to which one of those are out of place.
Yeah, I can definitely relate. I had a 1-star week last week, so I knew there were some things that I needed to be getting back on track and some things that I was not doing that I was supposed to be doing. So I had to jump right back on my 5 stars to build myself back up.
Yeah. Hey, so our listeners have really been waiting for this topic, so I want to get to the good stuff. Okay.
Oh boy.
The cannabis industry.
Yeah, what is that? What is it?
Yes, tell us, Aisha.
What an overwhelming industry to be in, right? So the number one thing about cannabis that I like to tell people when they're like, oh, I'm going to start selling cannabis or whatever people aspire to do, I tell them that I have been in this industry since the conception of the industry, right? Inception of the industry. And they would actually call me like one of the beginners. And so it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of studying. It's a lot of information to understand and to grasp. And so never assume that because something is hot, that you can just get in and make money in. That's not the case, because if it were, then it'd be more of us rich, right? So the number one thing I'd say about cannabis is it's a lot of information to learn. It's a lot of learning. I wake up at 5. Everyone that knows me knows my hours are early, but I'm up at 5. I'm praying, I'm meditating, and then I have 2 hours of study. And that literally is just me figuring out what state is doing what the federal government is, what trends are happening, what stocks are hot, and then on top of all that, what's going on with Black people in the industry, because that's like my specific niche in this marketplace is to support and to push forward policy for African Americans, specifically African Americans. And so on top of all of that information, I'm also trying to see where the equity conversation is being had in the industry. So cannabis, it's a beast. It is a real beast.
Wow, that's pretty deep. I didn't even think about that. Stocks and everything, huh?
Yeah. Because so I'm not a stock expert. That's not my space. Policy is my space. However, because I'm in the industry, you have to keep up with trends, and stocks is a part of the trends. And so you'll have conversations and people be like, oh, well, I'm following this stock. And then you're like, well, I've never even heard of that company. who actually is the owner of that company? What brands are they actually pushing? Do they have any licenses? Are they just involved in property? Like, so it makes me, one, if you don't know what's going on with one piece, you can't keep track of what's going on with any of them.
Mm-hmm. I see.
So,
wow. And what would you say are some of the illnesses and conditions that cannabis would be good for?
So I like to quote Whoopi Goldberg in this space, and what Whoopi said was, we should be using cannabis like penicillin. We're not really sure what all it could help, and so you should just try it first. And so I like to use that as an surface for treatment, right? So I've waited on thousands of patients because I actually manage the dispensary here in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I've personally waited and treated on thousands of patients in the industry. And I know all the lifestyles that it has changed, and I have yet to see something that it didn't help.
Wow.
Nice.
In some way or form. So what happens is doctors are treating symptoms. They're not treating the disease. Mm-hmm. And so cannabis is the same way. So cannabis in its different dosing methods is going to treat some symptom. So if you have inflammation, the cannabis treats inflammation. So and that's the reason why it's good for multiple sclerosis. It's good for sickle cell. It's good for lupus because it treats inflammation, right? So I could go down the list of, I have a friend I just actually was talking to the other day. She's not young by any means, but her husband is suffering from Crohn's disease. And she's like, oh, so obviously I'm like, well, have you tried cannabis? And she's like, oh no, why would I try cannabis for Crohn's? That doesn't make it, and OCPD. And she's like, that just doesn't make any sense. And I said, well, first of all, cannabis helps inflammation. Crohn's has a lot of inflammation, and OCPD has a lot of inflammation. I know that it has to do with the lungs, but oftentimes they can't swallow and they can't drink. And so what cannabis will do, and actually smoking cannabis, which drives everybody crazy because nobody wants to smoke cannabis, but what it does is it relaxes the lungs. And so then it allows you to consume food and get the healthy nutrients that you need inside your body.
Wow.
Well, so another thing, Aisha, we've been talking about in our 5-Star Living Circle group on Facebook is CBD oil. I'm seeing it everywhere now. What is it? What is it for? Who should be using it?
So CBD stands for cannabidiol, and it comes in two forms. You can get it from hemp plant, or you can get it from it's all cannabis plant, or you can get it from the sativa cannabis plant, right? The problem is the two don't necessarily respond the same in the body. So the argument is hemp CBD as effective as the sativa cannabis plant CBD? And studies are showing that the CBD responds better with THC as an activation. Studies are showing that. So if that's the case, I'm not saying that CBD doesn't work from hemp. What I am saying is you're probably not going to get the best results from CBD for hemp. But there is like people who are having placebo effect, and I'm not by any means telling anyone that it's not working for them. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is you would get a better effect if you had some THC engaged. So I said all that to say there is a such thing as full spectrum CBD, and there is a such thing as just the cannabinoid CBD. And the difference is in full spectrum, you're going to get all the enzymes, all the cannabinoids, and that is really where you're getting the healing, right? So there's CBN, CBG, THCVA, CBD, all of those cannabinoids are helping the healing of your body, and that's what they consider full spectrum. Well, hemp doesn't always have full spectrum. You're just getting the one cannabinoid. And so that's the reason why you're not really getting the full effect of what's needed to really combat some of your body's diseases and inflammations and symptoms. so for example, if I was talking to someone who was trying to battle cancer, certain forms of cancer, because CBD doesn't help all forms of cancer, cannabis doesn't help all forms of cancer. So if I was talking to someone and there was a cancer that they had that I knew that the cannabinoid could assist to help them get rid of, I would tell them to use sativa cannabis plant full spectrum CBD, because I know the results that would get. I would not recommend them to get hemp because it doesn't always, so I'm being clear on my words, doesn't always offer full spectrum CBD, which is all the cannabinoids combined that your body intakes that helps fight those diseases. That was a lot, huh? I'm sorry.
That is, you know what? I'm sure you have more information, or they can contact you more on your.
No, they cannot contact me.
Don't contact me.
No.
Okay.
You cannot contact me. So what you can do though is, so that's not information. I no longer do that portion of the industry. Okay. I'm just doing policy now. However, what I will say is, if you do need someone, you can, I have the blackjoyclub.com. There's a questionnaire in there. So if you put your question in there, I will forward it to the people that I know that can help you. So the blackjoyclub.com has like a little, what do they call it? Little info section. Mm-hmm. And if you put in the message, the ailment that you need help with, I will forward it out. I only offer this service to my closest family and friends now, because it just became overwhelming and there was no real way to get paid for that information. And unfortunately, we live in a lifestyle where it takes finances to get life going. And it was just not the best use of my time to do that.
Totally understandable. One more time, blackjoy.com?
The blackjoyclub.com.
The blackjoyclub.com. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for offering that information. Yeah. With this being such an explosive and so much information in the industry, how do people protect themselves from like counterfeiters or, the not real stuff? What do they need to be doing?
Stop buying from the street.
Simple as that.
That's pretty simple.
Right.
Yeah.
It's cheaper, but it may not be good for you.
Yeah. Stop buying from the street. Even if you're buying online, unless they can provide you with tests, right, don't buy it. Yeah. Like, I know there's a lot of network marketing companies that are popping out, like HempWorks, and there's another one. And I try not to belittle business ideas, but however, I'm not really a fan of people making products from isolate. Mm. And so what happens is, if you can't track back the testing on the isolate, which most of these products come from isolate, then I would be leery of that. So never buy anything that hasn't been tested and they can't provide you with the test. And not just the test for the batch, because what they'll do is they're buying the isolate in liters. And so what they'll give you the testing of the liter. Mm-hmm. But not the testing of the product that you purchased. So you don't know what metals they're using. It makes no sense to buy medicine and not know what's in the medicine. So you could be putting, number one, I'm not a fan of sugar in any medicine, right? So anytime you're buying hemp and it has fructose syrup or anything like that, you shouldn't be buying it. If you're buying CBD and don't buy that. That's not good. Sugar's not good for your body. I'm really not a fan of like coconut oil and with isolate, and the only reason why I'm not a fan of that is because we should be taking coconut oil anyway, and the little bit of CBD and hemp that we're putting in it isn't enough for your body to actually be processing. So why the hell are we doing that, right? So if it's MCT oil, which is a formulation of coconut oil where the fatty lipids have been taken out, I would say that that's a good way, because it's actually also a preservative, so it will keep the isolate solid. But you have to, and then vitamin E is a no. So because vitamin E actually breaks down the cannabinoids of the CBD, because CBD is a cannabinoid, so it breaks it down, right? So, but one of the things that I always suggest is one of the companies, this isn't a plug because I don't do that. One of the companies that I'm a part of that I believe in has nano emulsion. And so what nano emulsion is it's the cannabinoid broken down to the smallest enzyme so that your medicine can actually last longer. Because what happens with you taking a lot of medicine is it starts to get expensive. And so what we've come up with, not me, but we have scientists who came up with this medicine, pretty much this way of producing medicine that allows you to get the better bang for your buck. You know what? I want to say one more thing because I'm thinking about this right now. Yeah. Anytime you're buying a bottle of CBD and it says, this is why I don't like hemp works. So if the bottle of CBD says 50 milligrams or 100 milligrams, okay, that's the total bottle, not per dose. Yeah. So you actually have to do the math on that. So typically they're 30 milliliter bottles, which means they're a dose of 30 doses, a month's dose. You have to divide 30 into 25. So really you're getting like 0.2 milligrams a dose.
Okay. Wow.
Right? And then the same thing with the 150 milligrams, right? So if you divide 130 into 150, what is that? Like 15 milligrams. The math works out to be like 15 milligrams a dose or something like that. Right. Scientists have said that you need at least 25 milligrams a dose. And that's just if you're using it as a supplement. So if you're only because I use CBD as a supplement, and which means I take it almost every day. And because I'm using it as a supplement, I'm not taking anything less than 25 milligrams a day, according to what I use. So I use 1,500 milligram dosings. Bottles at 30 milliliters, right? So that would be the minimum amount that someone would want to purchase. Okay. And then even that, you could use half, because it's actually 30 something milligrams is what I'm dosing at, actually. So you could use a little less, which still would stretch out your medicine. I know that is a lot of information, but this stuff really matters. It does. The math of cannabis matters, right? You have to be able to convert. I always tell people, if you can't convert, you can't make money because you don't know how to count. And you got to be able to convert cannabis.
Right.
So that, that is what I would suggest as far as like dosing and all of that.
Wow, that's very good information. You have to be responsible with your cannabis, huh? Mm-hmm.
I know it's a lot. And when I talk about cannabis in this form, it's not even fun because it's just.
I don't think it's a lot because, like you said, you're talking about the medicinal end. So I think it's perfect, and the more people can educate themselves, then the better off they are. Because what is the purpose of you buying something and then not using it till its full potential? I wouldn't want to buy something and then be like, well, this isn't working. It's expensive. And
it's expensive. Yes.
So I appreciate you, and it's going to help somebody.
Yeah.
Good.
So Aisha, I know you mentioned about the political side. Can you share with us some of the obstacles that you've experienced in this industry?
Sure. The number one obstacle is I'm Black. Right. So that is its own obstacle. Yeah. And then number two, there's just not enough business opportunities for African Americans in the industry. So I like to say this. It's not because I like to be a forgiver of government. So what I like to say is that the government didn't initially set out to keep Blacks out of the industry. I don't believe. What I believe is they set out to protect themselves in putting together policy that was federally illegal. So the state takes a huge risk in starting policy that's not federally regulated. And so I believe that in doing that, they thought, we're willing to take this risk, but here's the boundaries on our willingness to take this risk. And so if you want to get into this is going to be the boundaries on us taking this risk with you. Okay? That's what I believe happened. I don't believe they were like, we're going to keep the Blacks and browns out of the business. So, and the reason why I say that is because I am a lobbyist and I have had conversations. So I do know like that was their thought process. It just so happened that it marginalized African Americans from the industry. Because less than 1% has money like that to do business. And that less than 1% is traditionally white businessmen. So they marginalized Blacks, Browns, and women out of the industry. So I said that to say that's a huge obstacle in policy, because now you're having conversations where they're saying, we realize that we've done this, but how do we fix it?
Right.
Like, how do we fix it? Understanding that we still are taking this risk because the states still are taking this risk, right? And the answer is to offer small business structures, but even when you offer small business models in policy, the obstacle then becomes, how do those small businesses afford to be safe in a marketplace that is federally illegal and is still cash driven? So how do we take that large model and make it small and still provide safeties for those businesses? So I absolutely understand the obstacles. I just don't like them, and I don't care half the time. And then on top of all that, one of the policy obstacles is that there's just not enough Black and brown brands on the shelf. So what you'll find is not only are there white businesses, but they're also white wholesales. So you'll have the 1% of licensees be African American or brown, and then they still can't even sell Black and brown products, which annoys the hell out of me, right? Because why in the hell would I want to be a Black business and sell white shit?
Right.
But there's no, it's just, when I'm having these conversations with people, they're like, and I'm like, okay, yeah, literally every single time they're like, I didn't consider that. Of course you didn't, because that makes no sense to you, right? You're not thinking that process out. But why, if there's 29 states right now that have some form of legalized cannabis, and out of those 29 states, the equity licenses end up being like 2 and 3 licenses per state. So nationwide, we only have about, and this is Black and browns, right? We only have about 60 licenses nationwide.
Whoa.
Yes. Yeah, it's just basic fucking math. Excuse my language. But it's just basic math. And when I have these conversations with people, they're like, wait, what? Yeah, that's basic math. Wow. So the problem with that is so now what you're saying is, it's kind of, so I give this description, right? So now it's like being in Walmart and not having any retailers in Walmart be African American or Latino. Right? And we know that that's just not the case. Like, we can walk up and down those aisles, and although we don't know, we can't personally identify, we know for a fact that this person's Black and this person, you know what I mean? So imagine hundreds of dispensaries across the nation, and we have 60 as a collective, and then we're probably looking at 20 brands that are Black on the shelf.
Wow.
So that's 3 and 4 brands a state. So there, you can't, as an African American, you can't even go and buy, you can't go to a dispensary and buy Black.
That's deep.
So that is a policy obstacle. And I don't really have it. My answer to that is we need more cannabis incubators, which means that we need to, one of my advocacies is to make the states reinvest with the tax money. Okay. So all the states are on this whole, the tax money should go to the school districts. And I'm not against that. I just have my own agenda. So I say it like it doesn't have value because I have my own agenda. Right. I do think that a portion of the money should go to education. I absolutely do. But I also think a portion of that should go back to reinvesting into the communities, along with funding cannabis businesses. And I'm not the one who's saying that the people closest to the problem should be the first people to get licenses. I'm not saying that. Because I don't really know if those people have the education or the skill set to run a business. So that's not my mentality in that space. My mentality in the space is I don't give a shit what we do with the money. It needs to come back to my community. Like, whatever we decide to do with it, that's what I need to do. It needs to go That's how I feel about it. Like, you need to reinvest in the communities that you put in jail, the legacies that you incarcerated. All the money needs to go back into those communities, and then we decide if they're going to go into community projects, if we're going to build community centers, if we're going to do after school programs, if we're going to start cannabis education programs, whatever it is that we want to do with the money. That ain't your damn business. Your business is to just set the money aside and make it available for these communities. And then the community will put a committee together and decide what we gonna do with the money, not what you decide we gonna do with the money. So that's kind of where I stand as far as policy. And now I preach that across the nation. We need to make reinvestment funds. And I cannot fucking stand when they start calling it reparations. I'm not asking for reparations. I'm asking for investment, because you incarcerated our future. You incarcerated our past. You incarcerated legacies of families over some shit you're making thousands and millions of dollars over, estimated to be billions of dollars in like 4 years. Wow. They owe us that money. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not having that conversation as if to say, oh, how are we going to get reparations? Or the chatter from the candidates right now. Y'all just letting me babble. The candidates from
This is some good stuff. I know our show is going to be wrapping up soon, so I'm gonna stop you there, because what's going to have to happen is we're going to have you back for part 2.
I'm like, they just let me babble.
It was some good stuff. We were like, so
I get angry. I'm really passionate about this, and so I get angry.
You don't get angry. That's passion.
That's passion.
Yes, I get passionate.
We love it. We love the passion.
Yes.
What I do want to know before you go, though, is on this journey, what has been one of your proudest moments? Something that you've achieved that you're very proud of. My proudest moment, it just happened, actually. So I just launched my own personal business. I haven't had a business of my own. I've partnered in businesses for the last 8 years, I want to say. I've been a partner in someone else's business, but I just launched my own business. It's called the Black Joy Consulting. Thank you. Congratulations. And when I launched so the scary thing always is launching. That's always scary. And I call myself self-launching the Black Joy. And I just put it out there. I didn't even lead up to it. And to see my community stand behind me and support me, and I've already picked up 2 clients since I launched. And I only launched Thursday. Congratulations! Yeah. Thank you very much. That is my largest accomplishment, and not because of just my business, but because the relationship I built with my community stands so strong that they feel obliged to help me and to send me work. That is the largest accomplishment. I always do things with my community in mind, and I don't do it necessarily for a return. It's just because I love my community. But to see them love me back was a compliment. Congratulations, Aisha. How do they find you online? TheBlackJoyClub.com is my website. The name of my consulting company is Black Joy Consulting. And you can find me at One Black Abyss on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Awesome. Very awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, I always look up to you, Aisha. You know this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Is there anything else you can share with our audience before we wrap up?
Sure. So I always like to issue a challenge because I'm a business coach by trade.
Okay.
So here's the challenge. We're going into the last quarter of the year.
Okay.
And on the 23rd, we're going to end Hot Girl Summer. I hate that I'm in the Hot Girl Summer because I actually ended up taking summer off. So here's your challenge. Your challenge is to end your year how you're going to begin. So not wait till your resolutions, but to end your year. You got 5 days left in the month because you're going to be going into your last quarter. So my challenge to you is to set your goals in the next 5 days on how you're going to end your year, because ending is how you begin. So end strong.
Yes.
Thank you.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
End strong.
That's excellent advice. Excellent advice. Well, we want to thank you for listening to us and joining us on this 5-star day. We believe in you, and we believe that you will have a 5-star day starting right now.
And we know that you could have chosen to be anywhere else, but you chose to be right here with us. And so for that, We thank you. We look forward to seeing you on Facebook at 5 Star Living Show and joining the 5 Star Living Show Inner Circle Accountability Group, because we want you to laugh more and love more while taking care of your mind, body, and soul.
Yes. So do me a favor. Make it a point to have a 5-star day.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. The 5 Star Living Show is sponsored in part by MVPphotographer.com, and special thanks goes out to our super producer, Mr. Dana Scott. Bye-bye. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the 5 Star Living Show. Take care of your mind, body, and soul. And remember, love more and laugh more.